Teruvan Saranai Hamidanata, may the Noble Triple Gem bless you.
Yeah.
Let's pay homage to the Buddha first of all. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa
Yes.
bhagavato arahato samma
Sambut
sambuddhassa.
tassa
Namo tassa
tassa
bhagavato arahato
to
samma
samma sambut
sambuddhassa.
tassa. Sad.
Today also we are going to start yet another discussion on Four Noble Truths. Today, last week that we did a sort of introductory discussion for the path leading to the cessation of suffering, which is the fourth Noble Truth. So today we are going to start, we are going to go a bit further more about the fourth Noble Truth, and let's see about the Eightfold Path. We are going to discuss the page 149, the Noble Eightfold Path. The above-mentioned supramundane knowledge by itself is incapable of delivering the one unto nirvana. There are 7 other principles that are coordinative and concurrent with it. These 7 principles are also encapsulated in Marga Satya, and hence the Noble Eightfold Path. Therefore, the Exalted One, after perfecting the doctrine discoursed, Katamancha bhikkave dukkha nirodhagamini patipada arya satcham. Ayameva aryo attangiko maggo sayyati dang sammaditthi samma sankappo. Samma vacha samma kammanto samma ajivo samma vayamo samma sati samma samadhi. Idang uccati bhikkave dukkha nirodha gamini patipada arya satcham. Bhikkhus, what is the Noble Eightfold Path? It is the way with 8 sections. What is it? Right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Bhikkhus, this is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satya. Samma Ditti, right understanding. Samma Sankappa, right thoughts. Samma Vacha, right speech. Samma Kammanta, right action. Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Samma Vayama, right effort. Samma Sati, right mindfulness. Samma Samadhi, right concentration. These are the components of Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding, Sammaditthi, is the aforementioned supramundane knowledge that roots out craving. The rest are elements that help to achieve the right understanding. So the right understanding means the understanding about twofold things. Yet we are going to, yet we haven't studied those 2 types. So they are supramundane right understanding and the mundane right understanding. So the Eightfold Path is the path or the factors which leads to the cessation of suffering, which means the third Noble Truth. So there are 8 factors. I think before we several occasions that we briefly discussed, maybe some other lectures, Abhidhamma lectures, or maybe. So these 8 factors are called mental factors, the chetasikas. The chetasikas, or the mental factors, or the path factors, we call them noble path when they arise in the supramundane chittas, or the path chittas, which is called Pali in Marg chitta, or the Magga chitta. So there are 8 mental factors, although there are some other mental factors as well, but these are the factors that perform or do the eliminating or the eradicating the defilements, and at the same time understanding the nirvana, the supreme bliss. These 8 mental elements are, yes.
This last sentence, the rest are elements that help to achieve right understanding, seems to imply that the number 2 to 7 from Sankappa downwards
Yes.
actually helps to achieve Samadhitti, but I was always thinking the Samadhitti needs to come first. Is that not the case?
Yes, that's yes, but what here mentioned is all the factors, they help each other. So even the right understanding, which means the panya, yes, it is the most important one, but all these mental factors that, as we've discussed in the Abhidhamma class, all these mental factors arise together with the chitta. And the other rest of the path factors also helpful for helpful to this, the right understanding or the panya, and the rest of the chetasikas as well. But even though it is mentioned here, the mental factors help to the panya or the right understanding, it helps each other, all the mental factors, each other and all other rest of the mental factors as well.
Thank you, Bhante.
These 8 mental elements are also born in the minds of mundane people. But all the 8 factors do not arise concurrently in one mind. For each mind, at times, only a few of them arise. As few of them in the mundane mind arise in bundles, they are apt to be addressed by the terms marganga or marga. However, as they lack the ability to eradicate craving, they are not termed dukkha nirodha gamini patipada arya satya. Marga satya can be applied when all the 8 factors concomitantly arise, embodying the power to eradicate, to deracinate craving. So in the mundane or the laukika or the lokiya chittas, also these mental factors arise, but not all the 8 together. For an example, when someone performs meritorious deeds, there are mental factors arise, the panya or the right view, then the right thoughts, but there are 3 the mental factors which are called when someone avoid or refrain some bad activities like bad words, bad actions, and wrong livelihood. So these 3 only can appear in the mind when a mundane person avoid or refrains from certain unwholesome behaviors. So at that time, I mean, when someone performs meritorious deeds, these 3 mental factors do not appear altogether. But when someone refrain from unwholesome activity, so for an example, when someone has a chance to kill a living being, then he refrains from killing. So at that time, in his chitta, this particular mental factor arise, the right actions, when he avoids or refrains from unwholesome deed. But in the Marga Chitta, the supramundane Chitta, these all 8 appear together. It is called Samuchcheda Prahani. All the unwholesome factors or the unwholesome activities eradicate at that moment forever. But before that, when someone avoid or refrain from unwholesome activity, it is just one particular one only that he can refrain from in mundane stage. So the maximum can be 6, but when perform wholesome deeds, then can be 5 without those 3 mental factors, which are included in avoiding situations of unwholesome activities. Did you get that, Mahatma, what I was trying to say?
Yeah, a little bit. I had not heard it like that before. So,
So we know that there are basically 2 types of factors, right? For an example, there are 3 for when we refrain unwholesome activities like samma vacha, samma kammanta, and samma ajiva. They only appear in mundane chitta when someone refrains from unwholesome activity, but not when perform meritorious deeds, because they at that time they don't deal with unwholesome activities.
Yeah.
But when they refrain from unwholesome activity, they appear separately, because at once they can't refrain from multiple unwholesome activities. So that's what the difference. But in the supramundane chittas, they appear all together, because they refrain from all the unwholesome activities at the same time forever. They do not appear again in their minds. So these
That's
are
the
sort
last
of,
3 and the first 2, no, Bhante?
yes. So these are sort of abilities that we develop. For an example, when we refrain from unwholesome activity, though we have the ability to do that, we develop that the samma vacha or other 2 for some certain extent. And when we observe precepts, it is also developing sort of ability that is called samadhana virati, when we determine, but it's not just by saying the precepts. You have to think and you have to determine what you utter there. So then you develop that the samadhana virati, observe and you avoid something, that is sort of ability, skill you develop in your chittas. Yes, there are 3 sort of that kind of skills, abilities you develop, like samadhana virati, when you observe the precepts. Then sampatta virati, quite important, when you have a chance to perform unwholesome activity, but by considering the consequences or maybe some other factors, you don't do that. You avoid it. At that time also, you develop that certain skill, strength in your the chittas. That's what it simply it has explained here. So that's why we call the marg arre, or the noble truth, for the only the noble chittas. But when they appear in the mundane chittas, we don't call them the noble eightfold path or something. We call just the path factors, marganga.
Because you're still in the process of developing them.
Yes. Yes. When all the 8 factors with anti-defilement action dawn in the supramundane mind for the first time, it is known as Sotapatti Marga. Sorry. When dawn for the second time, Sakadagami Marga. For the third time, Anagami Marga. And for the fourth, Arahat Marga. It is by only those who developed these 8 factors in their worldly minds that can cause the same 8 factors to be born concomitantly in their supramundane minds. So the first hand, we have to practice them quite separately. As we discussed before, that we can't generate all those 8 factors at the same time in the mundane stage. They appear when you develop separately before, I mean the mundane stage. At a certain point, when you develop your the vision, your wisdoms, at a certain point, you generate the marga chittas, which has the ability to cut off the defilements. Therefore, it is imperative that those who are desirous of evoking the supramundane pathway, marga, and attaining nirvana should, a few at a time, develop the 8 factors such as right understanding, etc. For one who develops and practices the 8 factors, there comes a time, however long it may be, when finally he sees the supramundane path. Those who don't develop likewise see no supramundane path forever. Even to be able to develop the 8 factors separately, first of all, one must know what those 8 factors are. Therefore, hereon, these 8 factors would be explained in detail. So, without having understood about these 8 factors, these marga satya, or developing them separately, someone cannot gain the supramundane chittas, or eradicate the unwholesome or the defilements. So someone has to, if someone wants to eliminate the unwholesome factors or the samsara, he has to practice these 8 factors separately. Then, as I mentioned before, at a certain time, certain point, he would be able to cut off all the defilements. So in order to, someone has to learn, someone has to make the ground for the spiritual path. So in order to do that, we have to develop the right view first. Right view means understanding about some certain factors which strengthen our right view. We'll see what these factors. Right understanding, right view. Understanding or view is twofold, namely wrong view and right view. The type of view that takes a piece of glass as a precious gem, or vice versa, is wrong. In those who don't know anything, certain wrong views occur regarding a lot of things at various times. Amidst such wrong views, there is a portion that, if tenaciously clung to, would make one end up in hell and barricading the path to supreme beatitude. That portion of wrong view is termed in religious literature as Micchaditti, wrong view or heretical doctrine. That there is no merit or demerit. They are created by those who want to beguile the world and get some profit out of them. By liberality, one does not gain but lose. By abstaining from taking life, one only gets into trouble here and now, but nothing else. There is nothing that meets the description of hell, heaven, or Brahma realms. That there is no rebirth after death. That there is no special group of people known as Buddhas and Arahants. These are a few of Micchadittis, or wrong views. Knowledge of things as they are is considered as right understanding or right view. Amidst right views, there is a portion of them that nullifies one's wrong views, makes one born in a happy realm, helps one to attain the supreme liberation from nirvana, liberation of nirvana. This portion is called right view. That there are merits and demerits, there are results of consequences of merits and demerits, that there is rebirth are a few that belongs to the right view. The true meaning of sammaditthi or sammadrushti is right understanding or right view, wisdom. For although right understanding is one, according to the thing which is known in its correct perspective, it's diverse. Therefore, in a lot of discourses, right understanding is elaborated in many ways. To mention it in the shortest way, Dasavastuka Samyak Drushti, tenfold right understanding. Chatusatya Samyak Drushti, fourfold right understanding. Thus, right view is twofold. Here, Dasavastuka Samyak Drushti is right understanding with respect to 10 objects. So, the right understanding is twofold. Understanding about Dasavattuka Sammaditthi, or it is called Kammasakata Jnana. Then the Chatusatya Sammaditthi, understanding about the Four Noble Truths. So as I have been explaining, the right understanding is quite manifold. For example, in this Dasavattuka Samyak Drushti, there are 10 factors. Then the Chatusatya Samyak Drushti, there are 4 factors. So beforehand, first of all, someone has to have this Dasavattuka Sammaditthi, understanding about 10 factors. When you understand about these 10 factors more, that's how you develop your right view in first hand. Here, right view means the panya. And that's what we are doing right now. When we learn these noble teachings, knowingly or unknowingly, we develop right understanding. We develop panya. We develop the right view. Yes, when you learn more, then you can practice. Otherwise, probably sometimes you may not know about the right view, or sometimes, as it mentioned here, someone may have or might have some wrong views as right view. So it's critical, it's very important to understand this right understanding to go forward in the Buddhist spiritual path. So in order to strengthen our right view, we have to learn about the 10 factors to strengthen our right view. So the wrong view, I briefly mentioned here, like someone, if not understand or believes the karma or this life or afterlife, something like that, it is called wrong view. So the right view means understanding, discerning things as they are. That's the definition for right understanding of the panya. But opposite, the michaditi, you understand wrongly about things. So when you learn more, when you understand more sammaditi, the right view, you decrease wrong views. So the tenfold right understanding. Samma dittiko hoti aviparita dasam. Atti dinnam atti yittam. Attihutam atti sukata dukkhatanam kammanam palang vipako. Atti ayam loko, atti paroloko, atti mata, atti pita, atti satta opapatika. Atti loke samana brahmana sammagata samma patipanna. Ye imancha lokam parancha lokam sayang abhinya satchikatta pavedintiti. This paragraph in Pali explains at length the components of the tenfold right understanding. It says that consequences or results are thereby way of moral retribution for deeds such as liberality, offering in general and offering for religious mendicants and sages of great wisdom, and of deeds that are morally classified as wholesome and unwholesome. Furthermore, that those who are in other worlds can be reborn in this world, and vice versa. That there are results of wholesome and unwholesome acts performed towards parents, in particular to each one and in general. That the beings are reborn, or rather become after death. That there are Sramanas and Brahmanas who, after having reached immaculate wisdom, preach about this world and the other worlds. So these are the tenfold right understanding. There are 10 factors about the right understanding. The kammasakata or dasavastuka sammaditi. So attidinnam. Attidinnam means understanding about the importance of performing the meritorious deeds, or the simply liberality or the generosity. This term emphasizes that it is a type of right understanding to believe after having realized it by oneself or from somebody else, that there accrues great merit to one who offers food, clothes, and other riches to Sramanas, Brahmanas, mendicants, and other poverty-stricken people. To believe what one only loses by acts of charity is a heretical view, michaditi. So as Buddhists, that we all know the importance of performing meritorious deeds, or the most importantly, the dana, generosity. It is one of the most important meritorious deeds, because when you practice dana, when you give something belong to you, you develop alobha, which is one of the opposite, the mental factors of unwholesome activities, unwholesome thoughts. So we have discussed before, the craving is as a root cause of suffering. So we have to control, we have to suppress craving, and in order to instead of craving, we have to practice renunciation, or alobha. Alobha is not just disappearing lobha. Alobha is some ultimate realities, one of the chetasikas. that we all are supposed to develop. So when someone practices this dana or the generosity, it develops that the alobha chaitasika, the alobha, the mental factor.
Bhante, in this paragraph, it talks of generosity towards Samanas, Brahmanas, etc., and poverty-stricken people as well.
Yes.
But elsewhere, I think we have heard that the level of merit is different based on whom you give to. But is the level of aloba also different based on whom you give it to, or is
It depends.
aloba?
It depends how much you understand of the act you perform. The alobha does not depend on the others. It depends on how much you understand. But yes, the results depend on whom you give.
That results in terms of wholesome vipaka to yourself.
Yes. For an example, if you give a noble person, let's say a sotapanna one, so because of his immense virtues and immense qualities, you get enormous amounts of wholesome results. But you have to maintain your mentality at the same time, right? If you have to understand what you do more well, right? Then, and if you have the saddha pretty well, that you can perform it quite well, and understanding about the importance of meritorious deeds and the virtues or the qualities of the receivers. Then when you perform towards the poor people or needy people, still you generate merit. But if you develop so much understanding about karma and you develop compassion towards them, then still you can get more merits. But it's not quite similar like what you give to those who are who have developed their mentality, developed their virtues. Yes, it's different, but still people can practice generosity towards those poor people as well. That's why there are two types of.
Yeah, understood,
Yes.
Bhante. So is it correct to summarize in our mind that this act of giving actually has two consequences? One is you develop a aloba, and on the other hand, you also accumulate merit. So there are two things, two consequences. Is that correct?
Yes, we can say in that sense, you decrease your loba, your craving,
Yeah.
and then you develop aloba at the same time. And there are more, like you develop your panya, you develop some other the beautiful mental factors as we've discussed, like saddha, sati, and some other wholesome factors. There are the 25 wholesome factors, but without like that we've discussed before, the when you refrain from unwholesome activities. So all these three, without these three, and there are two other like illimitable sappamanya, like karuna and mudita, compassion and loving kindness. If you perform this towards poor people or poverty-stricken people, you can develop that too as well. So there are 25 and 22. You develop altogether the mental factors.
It's interesting, Bante, because very commonly we hear when we talk of dana, we hear the word merit and mention, but it's not so common to hear about that you are actually in the process of sort of realizing your own aloba side of things.
Yes, that's why it's important to understand or the strengthen your right view. When you more strengthen your right view, which means panya, you understand that those aspects, you see the same thing in wide angle. That's why you understand that. The
It's
more
very
you
useful.
understand, you can perform these activities the more efficiently.
Thank you, Baba.
So yes, so that's the number one, right? Attidinna, understanding about simply generosity.
Generosity.
Yes. So if someone thinks, okay, giving up or giving things is just only lose your wealth, it's a wrong view. So then the number two, Attijittam, it is also quite important today. Yitta is a name for massive offerings or acts of charity. The fact that those who perform massive offerings with flowers, lamps, food and clothing, etc., and acts of charity towards hundreds and thousands of recipients are endowed with great merit, which enable them to be reborn in the human realm or born in the heavenly realms with lot of favorable and unwholesome conditions. Wholesome conditions is called attiyittam. And this is right view. It is heretical or wrong to believe that by offering lot of flowers only adds to the refuse of the temple. That by lighting lot of lamps only burn lot of oil, making the temple environment noxious. That by offering lot of food to a dargaba pagoda only waste the foods. That liberality only destroys valuable property and has no consequences to the giver. These are categorized michadikti. You see, today a lot of people, they they criticize, these pujas,
Yeah.
but according to these explanation, right, it is uh, those kind of offerings, the massive pujas, have some benefits. Though people criticize those offerings, the massive pujas, uh, which means that they do not have this the right view. So it is very important to have this right view. So if you have this right view, you can generate wholesome chittas by just witnessing or by just hearing something like that. But if you don't have this right view, most probably um, you will generate unwholesome chittas, as mentioned here, by thinking of why they foolishly waste these precious things. So it is very important to have this understanding. So that's number two. Having understanding about the benefits or the results of massive pujas. Then Attihutam. By considering the merit that accrues, sending as gifts various objects to the grateful and the wise, and believing this to be of great merit after death is known as Attihutam. And this also a form of right understanding. The non-belief in this view is a Michaditti. So it is about sending gifts and various objects to the Samana Brahmanas or the ones who practice the spirituality. It is also one of the factors of right understanding. If someone does not have this understanding or wrong understanding, it is called Miccha Ditti. Atti sukata dukkhatānaṁ kammānaṁ phalang vipāko. To those who perform or cause to perform acts such as construction of dagebas, dhamma libraries and halls, wells, ponds, and state rest homes, ambalamas, for the benefit of the others, planting or causing to plant flowering shrubs and plants, helping the poor, needy, poverty-stricken people, preaching the Dhamma and reading it, listening to Dhamma, causing the Dhamma to be listened, observance of disciplinary rules, ordaining as a monk, and meditation will confer definitely some merits in the next life. So also there are effects for the acts of sinful thoughts such as killings. Thus the belief in the existence of resultants or consequences of our actions constitutes atti sukata dukkhatānaṁ kammanam phalang vipāko. This is an other form of right understanding. The opposite of this view, that there are no consequences in our actions, is a future lives is wrong and is a micchaditti. So this is about simply about the karma. So if someone does not have or believe the karma, so he could perform any sort of bad or unwholesome activity. So it is very important to have understanding about this, the karma phenomena. The karma is one of the deepest teachings of the Buddha and quite complicated as well. It is not of a subject for a worldly person for 100%. It is a subject to the perfected ones, the Buddhas, who have penetrated the Sabbanyuta Jnana. They understand 100% how karma works. But for the even for the Arahantas, they don't have that ability like the Buddha had. But when it comes to the worldly people, they also do not have perfect understanding. But when you learn the teachings, when you develop your right understanding, you can have some sort of idea by looking at the Dhamma, and you can understand simply about yourself what are the things that you have done in your previous lives. You can understand that what you have right now and your environment, and when you consider about these things, you can understand some certain extent, not perfectly, but to some certain extent you can understand what are the things that we have done and not. So it is important to understand about these meritorious deeds. So we know that there are 10 wholesome actions like Dasa Punya Kriya, and there are some many ways that it has been explained in the Buddhist teachings about wholesome activities and even unwholesome activities as well, and their results and the benefits and the consequences and all these things is explained in the teachings of the Buddha. So for a thinking person, it's not quite complicated to make sense. So someone thinks quite deeply, it makes sense, the karma phenomena, the karma theory. You can't get what you do opposite. If you want to live longer, you have to help other people to live longer. If you destroy living beings, you can't live. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't help you to live longer at some point. And so it is very, very important, critical in the spiritual part. So if you don't believe in karma, if you don't understand karma, then someone can perform any sort of unwholesome deed, since that he does not understand the karma. So it is also a very important factor in the Buddhist spiritual path. Then atti ayang loko, and it is the next one is atti paroloko. So it simply means that we have to understand the rebirth and yes, simply the rebirth, the recurrent death, and the birth, samsara, in other terms. So we understand the beings can be born here by coming from other worlds, other realms. And the beings who leave this world can be born in another realms, another worlds. These are these two terms. Atti ayang loko, beings can come from other realms. So we learn about many realms, right? In this Chakavala, this world system, there are 31 realms where beings are born. So we live in the human realm, so from other realms, the beings can come here, but except from the pure abodes, Pancha Suddhavasa, they are only the Anagamis, non-returners, get their rebirth in those 5 places. But except those 5, Suddhavas, or the pure abodes, from other 25 realms, beings can come to this human realm and be born here. And not only that, in the Buddhist teachings, there are billions of world systems. I think you might have heard that when the Buddha gave the very first Dhamma talk, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So there were the beings, the gods, the Brahmas, who had come there from the 10,000 world system, the Sasahasi Chakravala. So, but it's not just getting rebirth. They came and gathered to listen to Buddha, but still they can come here and get the rebirth as well. So Atyayang Loko simply means beings get their rebirth here in this world after coming from another realm. The next one is the opposite. When beings passed away from here, they can get their rebirth in another realms. So we understand, we know that the beings, humans, when they passed away, they can get their rebirth in animal realm, or in other woeful places, or even in heavenly realms or Brahma realms, or even some other world system as well. So beings can get their rebirth. If someone does not have this understanding, it is not correct understanding. Someone may think, okay, the hell is on here, right? When even people say sometimes, when they see some people who struggle here, who do not have even the basic needs, and when they suffer, people say that's a hell. And when people having very luxurious lives, then some people say that's a heavenly life. But that's not true. That's untrue. The Buddha has explained about the hells, about other heavenly places, and all the places where beings can be born. So these two understanding is very important. Imagine someone does not have this understanding, or if they don't believe life after death, they have nothing to do pretty much with the Buddhist teachings, because our main objective is to cut off this samsaric journey. So if someone does not believe these two, then probably he has nothing to do with the teachings. So it is very important to understand these things, these factors, which strengthen our right view. It's very important. Then Attimata and Attipita, these two also, the factors which strengthen our right view. So there is something that we have to think quite deeply. The earlier that we discuss about the karma, right? We discuss about the karma factor as the number 4, number 4th one, Attisukata dukkata kammanang palanipapo. So someone may argue, okay, that there is about karma, about doing wholesome things, you get wholesome results. When you perform unwholesome, you get unwholesome results. But here, why it is mentioned again about parents? Because the answer is the parents are quite special, the most special people in the world. So that's why it has been mentioned here separately. The Attimata and Attipita, when you perform some wholesome deeds towards the Mata or the mother or towards the father, you get very important wholesome results. And when you do unwholesome, it is vice versa. It's not something like you do some unwholesome thing to some other person. So the intensity is quite high here. And that's why it is separately mentioned. The mother and the father are very, very important individuals for someone who has given the birth. So that's why it is specially mentioned as 2 factors. So attending parents, worshipping them and respecting them and nurturing them, that's why it is important. And in Buddhist cultures, that is even today, most of the Buddhists practice that. So someone who does not have this right understanding may say, okay, they are the ones who gave us the birth, so they should do everything for us or something like that. But it's a wrong understanding. Yes, they in yes, they help us to get the birth, but the main reasons within us, right? Because of the cravings and all these, we get our rebirth. They just make a ground for us to get a human birth, and so they're not the primary or the main reasons for us to be born here. Yes, they help in to us to get the human birth, but the main reasons within us, if we do not have the main reasons, the main root causes, we do not get our rebirth anywhere else. So the parents, understanding about the parents is very important, and it strengthens our right view to go forward in the Buddhist spiritual path. Then Atti Satta Opapatika. Opapatika Satta. understanding about Opapatika Sattva, Opapatika beings. Opapatika means beings get their rebirth as a spontaneous rebirth. As human beings, we conceive our mother's womb and we stay in our mother's womb maybe 9 months or 10 months, then we get our birth. But those who get the spontaneous birth, they just don't want to stay in the mother's womb. They pass away in somewhere, and they just right after they get their rebirth as uh, spontaneous rebirth, and they get their all the body parts at the same time. But it's not like humans or animals. They don't have gross bodies like humans. They have quite a subtle matter, the rupas. So the most of the beings in the world, they get spontaneous rebirth. For an example, like in the woeful places, the animals only get their their rebirth in maybe they are conceiving in mother's womb or conceiving in eggs. But in nearer the great hell and the Petha world, the ugly ghost or the hungry ghost, the asuras, all of them get their rebirth as spontaneous rebirth. And all the sensual heavenly realms, they get the rebirth as a spontaneous birth, and the Brahma realms. So all these, the beings, most of them get their rebirth as spontaneous birth. So it also, the understanding about this fact is also strengthens our right view. And yes, I mean, those who have not developed their mentality, developed their mindset, they can't witness by themselves. But if someone develops his mindset, his mentality, probably he would be able to witness this. And sometimes they can know about past lives by themselves, by developing their mentality. But the worldly people, those who do not have developed their mentality, they can't witness it by themselves. That's why the supreme Buddhas and some special people appear in the world time to time, and they explain what they have realized about the world. So it's very important to understand that and practice spirituality. It strengthens our right view. Then the number 10, Atti loke samana brahmana sammagata samma patipanna ye imancha lokam parancha lokam sayang abhinya satchikatta pavedenti. Seldom are born in this world people whose wisdom is exceptional, very much beyond average, who are endowed with unflinching courage and patience, and congenitally are of tremendous wit and candor. Amongst those people, some go forth from home to homelessness, becoming ascetics and mendicants. They by meditational concentration with great effort and forbearance acquire paranormal knowledge or abhinya, which enables them to see things or forms without the help of eyes. Clairvoyance, to hear sounds without the help of the ears. Clairaudience, the possess retrocognitive knowledge as to their activities in previous lives, and to know the birthplace of those who are dying, etc. So time to time, some very, very special people, exceptional people appear in the world. They are called the Supreme Buddhas. So they understand the phenomena, all the phenomena in this world. So especially they, when we consider other religious sects which were concurrent in the Buddha's time, the Buddha has introduced something very, very new to the spiritual world. That is the knowledge of destruction, knowledge about the destruction of the defilements, the kilesas. That's what the Buddha introduced as a special knowledge, because where he got his enlightenment, the Buddhahood, at that time the spirituality was at its peak. So there were so many rishis, so many people who were seeking spiritual answers, and they had practiced the meditations I mean, very deep meditations, like the jhanas, the rupa jhanas, and arupa jhanas as well. So they had known about the three realms, the sensual realm, and fine material realm, and immaterial realm. So that's why when the Buddha practiced, I mean, the Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha, as Bodhisattva, he practiced all these meditative jhanas. But at the end, he realized that there were no the liberation that which he was looking for. So he abandoned all those paths, and he practiced the middle path instead. And he realized, he comprehended the Four Noble Truths and the Samma Sambuddhahood. So we have to understand, we have to develop our understanding that time to time, these types of people, very, very special people, we know that the Buddhas, they are called Acharya Manussa, extraordinary human beings. They have some special abilities, special jnanas. So that's why they are very special human beings, and they understand all the phenomenon of the world, and they teach the beings how to overcome all the miseries, all the sufferings. So we have to understand this as well. So the Buddhas appear in the time to time in this world, and they teach how to solve the problem of suffering. So when we learn more about the Buddha, then we develop more saddha and other wholesome, beautiful mental factors like panya and all these. It's very important to go forward in the Buddhist spiritual path. The most importantly, when we learn more about the Buddha, we develop more saddha, we develop more panya, we develop more efforts, virya, and all other the wholesome mental factors, the beautiful mental factors. So it is very important to understand about the Buddha. Yes, it is impossible to understand 100% about the Buddhas. It is only for the Buddhas to be understood about 100% about the other Buddhas. But we can develop some unchanging state of saddha towards the Buddha when we attain the first spiritual stage of Sotapanna or Sri Mentor as until then, our saddha and other the virtues are not quite, I mean, fixed. They can change because of our defilements and our worldly nature of the mind. So then, if someone does not have this understanding, or wrong understand, if they could perform any sort of unwholesome deeds. So here at the end of this para, it explains, Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadammampi samanupassami. Yena anuppannava kusala dhamma uppajjanti. Uppannava kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya sammattati. Yataidam bhikkhave sammaditthi. So it is explained about sammaditthi. Samma dittikassa bhikkhave anuppannā cheva kusala dhamma uppajjanti. Uppannācha kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullāya sammattanti. So there's no something like sammaditthi which you can develop the wholesome activities. So at the same time we can understand that the danger of the micchaditti. So there's no something like micchaditti that can appear the unwholesome unwholesome activities. So when you understand more sammaditthi, then you generate more wholesome activities. That's why it is explained kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattati. Yataidam bhikkhave sammadhi. Sammadittikassa bhikkhave anuppannava cheva kusala dhamma uppajjanti. Uppannacha kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattati. Because I don't know any other principle other than a right understanding which conduces to birth of unborn merit and the development of born merits. Because the person with right understanding is begotten of unborn merits and development of already born merits. So this shows how much important to have understanding about the right view. So it is exact opposite of the wrong view. If someone does not have this right view, which means he would generate unwholesome. So this is about the tenfold right understanding, which strengthen the right understanding. And the next time that we can discuss about the fourfold right understanding. So now we have some time to discuss some questions or some ideas.
අවසරයි බන්තේ, out of the three aspects of virati, which you discussed earlier,
Yes.
The third one is samuchcheda virati. Am I right, Bhante?
Yes. Samuchcheda virati.
It's samuchcheda virati and samuchcheda prahānaya are the same or two different
Yes,
things?
they're the same. Samuchcheda prahana in Sinhalese and Sanskrit.
Right, Bhante. That means like, is it like eradicating all the defilements?
Yes, completely cut off all the defilements.
So that will be on Magga Chitta, am I right?
Yes, exactly. Path Chittas.
So in that case, like it happens in a Sotapanna.
Yes, it happens in
or is
gradually. It
gradually,
happens in the gradually according to the stages. For example, when you get the Sotapatti Magga Chitta. Yes, it happens at the very first time that we know that one who gets the Sotapanna stage, he remains only the defilements or maybe the wholesome energies to get his rebirth maximum to 7 lives, which means that all the other the capabilities of other rebirths that he cut off. That means prahana, eradicate. So then, as we discussed before as well, in other the spiritual development or the stages like Anagami, Sakadagami. He gradually cuts off other the defilements.
Right, Bhante. So the two for the two first viratis, that you have to have the knowledge and some sort of control, isn't it?
Of course,
Okay. So
yes, the
and for
right
the
understanding.
yes, the
Yes,
third one, Bhante, have to meditate and develop your meditative skills. Am I right, Bhante?
yes, yes.
So the
And
third virati won't happen unless you have uh, reached Sotapan.
yes, exactly.
Bhante. Lots of merits to you. Thank you, Bhante.
It's all right, Terence.
Bhante once.
It's a gradual process. Mahinda Mahatma, anything to be clarified?
Mm.
If not, we can just
Bhante, I
wind
think
up.
it's clear.
Okay, then if no more questions, we can just wind up here.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So the next our Dhamma session will be the 23rd July. Okay, remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I will put some message to the group as well. Okay, Therun Saranai Hamadanatam. So today that we discuss, we've learned this about this noble Dhamma, and we generated enormous amounts of wholesome thoughts, wholesome activities. So first of all, let's transfer these merits to the departed relatives. May all our relatives who expect merits accept these merits and may well, happy and prosperous. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Let's transfer merits to the devas as well. Ettavatacha amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi Sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiyam. May all these merits lead us to supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the Noble Triple Gem bless you all.